what I love about Common Lit that can find you going down a beautiful, glorious, I don't want to call it a rabbit hole because that can come off as a negative connotation, but just a glorious trails of beautiful words is it will tell you other texts that tie into the same theme as the story. So I'm thinking about reading next is a story called Eraser Tattoo by Jason Reynolds. Um, I'm really thinking about reading that one. Then they have another one called Home for the Holidays by Desiree Cooper. That was a really good story. I remember reading it with my kids. And then they have poetry. They have an essay here. They have nonfiction. So that way you're not just, they're giving you multiple texts, but they giving you different levels, different type of texts that key in all into the same story. So I'm thinking about just taking all these stories and running with it and just go from there. And if I need to deviate, I need to. Another thing I want to make sure that I do, because the cultural identities or the racial backgrounds of my students are very vast. Even though I'll admit the majority of my students are black, I do have white students. I do have Asian, which I think one of my students is from Cambodia. I have one student, I forgot the name of the country, but she's from Africa, Jamaica. One of my students who's Muslim, she's from Egypt. I have a few Hispanic students. I don't know exactly where they're from. Nevertheless, I want to make sure that my stories represent everybody. I don't want to just have, even though I believe Black literature is very important, I want to make sure I have stories that represent all of them and their backgrounds. That is very important to me because I want to make sure they feel represented. Like, one of the young ladies brought up Ramadan, so having something about that when if she's still here when we have Ramadan, then they have Ramadan, because I say that because they're really only supposed to be here for 6 weeks. They're only supposed to be here for 6 weeks. And ideally, by the time they get all their hours in and go through all the classes, by then they should be ready to take their test, their GED test, and they're done for the year, and then they come at the end of the year and do graduation.